listening to the way reporters treat her in the White House press briefing room. It is the details are just fantastic. I'm just
get
incredible.
to it. Get to it, Lawrence.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will get to Jen Psaki later in this hour. The book is amazing. They wrote it down. The conspiracy was written out on paper. That is rare in criminal prosecutions. Prosecutors are usually left explaining to juries that, you know, criminal conspirators don't write it all down, but that is what they did in the Trump office on Fifth Avenue and in the White House. Today, Donald Trump's jury was shown the handwritten conspiracy to pay back Michael Cohen for paying $130,000 to porn star Stormy Daniels to purchase her silence before the presidential election about what she has since described as one very quick sexual encounter with Donald Trump. Donald Trump's financial mastermind, convicted felon Alan Weisselberg, put the conspiracy in his handwriting on Michael Cohen's bank statement. And then another financial officer in the Trump shop put the whole thing in his handwriting on Trump company stationery. That handwritten description of the conspiracy called for Michael Cohen to be paid $35,000 a month as reimbursement for his payments to Stormy Daniels. And the final handwriting in the conspiracy presented to the jury today were Donald Trump's signatures on those $35,000 checks to Michael Cohen. It didn't really matter much what today's witness, Jeffrey McConney, told the jury, because the handwriting told the story. But Jeffrey McConney did confirm that that is Alan Weisselberg's handwriting on Michael Cohen's bank statement. Question, do you recognize this document? Answer, yes. Question, what is it? Answer, this is the bank statement that Alan gave me to put in the files. Question, is there handwriting on this document? Answer, there are two sets of handwriting on the bottom of the document. Question, do you recognize the handwriting? Answer, I recognize the handwriting on the left side of the page, but not the right side of the page. Question, whose handwriting do you recognize on the left side of the page? Answer, that belongs to Alan Weisselberg. Question, how do you recognize his handwriting? Answer, I've read his handwriting for about 35 years. The writing on the right side of the page is likely to turn out to be Michael Cohen's writing showing Alan Weisselberg why he was owed $50,000 more than the $130,000 he paid to Stormy Daniels. The $50,000 was for a previous expense that he paid to a firm to rig online polls for Donald Trump. According to Alan Weisselberg's notes, he grossed up the $180,000 to $360,000. Question, what does grossed up mean? Answer, I don't know exactly what it meant, but he probably meant, so for tax purposes, if Michael recorded $360,000 income, he would net, assuming a 50% tax rate, $180,000. To the $360,000, Alan Weisselberg then added in his handwriting an annual bonus of $60,000, bringing the grossed up total to be paid to Michael Cohen to $420,000, which Alan Weisselberg's handwriting says would be paid at $35,000 per month. And then Donald Trump's signed checks to Michael Cohen for $35,000 per month were presented to the jury. On cross-examination, one of Donald Trump's criminal defense lawyers, Emil Bove, asked Jeffrey McConney if he ever spoke to Donald Trump about the scheme. Question, you did not talk to him about those events in 2016, correct? Answer, I did not. You did not talk to him about those events in 2017, did you? Answer, I did not. And you did not talk to him about those events in 2018 either. Answer, I did not. Question, not ever, right? Answer, no. Before any testimony was heard this morning, Judge Juan Merchan once again held Donald Trump in contempt of court for violating the gag order, which forbids Donald Trump from saying anything about the jury in this case. Judge Merchan handed out a 5-page written opinion and order in which he responded to the prosecution's request that Donald Trump be found in contempt for violating the gag order 4 more times. Judge Merchan found only one of those alleged violations of the gag order was proved beyond a reasonable doubt. The judge wrote, defendant violated the order by making public statements about the jury and how it was selected. In doing so, defendant not only called into question the integrity and therefore the legitimacy of these proceedings, but again raised the specter of fear for the safety of the jurors and of their loved ones. Because this is now the 10th time that this court has found defendant in criminal contempt, spanning 3 separate motions, it is apparent that monetary fines have not and will not suffice to deter defendant from violating this court's lawful orders. Therefore, defendant is hereby put on notice that if appropriate and warranted, future violations of its lawful orders will be punishable by incarceration. Not trusting Donald Trump to actually read his order, the judge then spoke directly to Donald Trump when he handed out his written decision, and looking directly at Donald Trump, Judge Merchan said in open court, quote, going forward, this court will have to consider a jail sanction if recommended. Mr. Trump, it's important to understand that the last thing I want to do is put you in jail. You are the former president of the United States and possibly the next president as well. There are many reasons why incarceration is truly a last resort for me. To take that step would be disruptive to these proceedings, which I imagine you want to end as quickly as possible. I also worry about the people who would have to execute that sanction, the court officers, the correction officers, the Secret Service detail, among others. I worry about them and about what would go into executing such a sanction. Of course, I'm also aware of the broader implications of such a sanction. The magnitude of such a decision is not one-sided, but at the end of the day, I have a job to do, and part of that job is to protect the dignity of the judicial system and compel respect. Your continued violations of this court's lawful order threaten to interfere with the administration of justice in constant attacks, which constitute a direct attack on the rule of law. I cannot allow that to continue. So as much as I do not want to impose a jail sanction, and I have done everything I can to avoid doing so, I want you to understand that I will, if necessary and appropriate. Leading off our discussion tonight is Adam Klasfeld, who was in the courtroom today and who will be there every day for us during the Trump trial. He's a fellow at Just Security. Also with us, Andrew Weissman, former FBI general counsel, former chief of the criminal division in the Eastern District of New York. He's co-author of the New York Times best-selling book, The Trump Indictments, The Historic Charging Documents with Commentary. And Neil Katyal is joining us, former acting U.S. Solicitor General, who has argued over 50 cases before the United States Supreme Court. He is a professor at Georgetown Law and host of the podcast Courtside with Neil Katyal. Andrew and Neil are both MSNBC legal analysts. And Adam, I want to begin with the judge's discussion of contempt. Begin where the judge began this morning. He hands out his opinion, and then he speaks extemporaneously from the bench, addressing himself directly to Donald Trump. Did it seem to register on the defendant?
Absolutely, Lawrence. And it's the fact that it registers is memorialized in the conferences that Trump does every day. The reporters tried to, I don't think this is too strong a word, bait him again and again to violate the gag order, asking, and I'm reading some of the questions here, is Stormy Daniels a liar? Is Michael Cohen a liar? Could you do a night at Rikers? Why did you pay Michael Cohen? They asked about the jury. Each time, nothing from Trump. And it's clear to see why Trump is abstaining, because this is the first time that Judge Merchan has vocalized that threat of jail to Trump. And if he put it out loud in open court, and if the prosecutors brought another alleged violation to his bench and he heard it, he found another violation, he threw down the gauntlet. If he doesn't throw Trump in jail, he would look entirely like a paper tiger. And Trump got that message. And it was evident in the press conferences during the proceedings and after the proceedings of the day.
So, Andrew, when we hear jail, we're all thinking Rikers Island and sending a former president of Rikers Island with his Secret Service detail. We could hear in what the judge said from the bench that he is concerned with the things I've wondered about, which is how does the Secret Service do this? How do the local officials handle it? How do they interact? How does it work? In real practical terms, what are the options that the judge has that could involve some measure of incarceration without necessarily it being Rikers Island?
So leaving aside that he could just say, as Neil has suggested and Ryan Goodman have suggested, that he says, you know what, I can consider this later. I can decide what sentence to impose later. If there's conviction, I can decide how it relates to the sentence I impose. On the criminal contempt, I can actually give the sentence afterwards. But let's say he wants to do something right now because he really wants to send a message now to stop.
Can you just go back a second on that? So he could make an announcement in court to say, there's going to be a sentence of incarceration, which I'm going to decide later.
Yes, he could say, I am going to sentence you later. You should know fines are no longer sufficient. What that sentence will be is going to wait. And if there is a conviction, I can also consider your continued conduct in deciding what sentence to impose. So all of that he could sort of kick down the road. But let's assume he says, you know what, I need to do something now that's more than that. And it's not sort of my idea, which is, having sort of a babysitter, monitoring sort of his tweets and Truth Socials. He can do a number of things. There's something called house arrest. He could be sort of under lock and key at night. He could be just put in the back of the court. So, when prisoners are brought to the courthouse, there's a holding pen. And he could literally just say, you're going to be in the holding pen in the courthouse. And so he could say, you know what, at lunchtime, that's where you're going to be kept. He could keep them there even some hours in the evening. And there are ways to fashion sort of incarceration without it saying for 30 days you're going to be in jail and be brought back and forth from Rikers. So there are ways for him to do incremental punishment. And that, by the way, is what judges do look to do, is sort of figure out what's the next step. And you know what? I agree with Adam. I mean, no matter how much bravado, this is not somebody who's thinking, what, I'm going to have a really great time at Rikers. The New York court system, difficult place.
So, Neil, I have to say, having seen Donald Trump in court now for a couple of days, not today, but last week, this idea of using the jailing capacity that they have to have at a courthouse for criminal defendants who are being held in jail at Rikers Island, when they bring them to the courthouse, there's a place to lock them up while they're there. To say to him, you have to be here at 8 a.m. and we're going to lock you into that spot. And then during the recesses, they have a recess in the morning. They have a lunch break for an hour and a half. They have a recess in the afternoon. We're going to lock you up for each one of those. You're going to be taken directly from the courtroom, so you won't be stopping to talk to the reporters anymore. That would be pretty, for him, that would be severe stuff.
It would be relatively severe, Lawrence, but I guess I just got to say, and I got to call it, I think that Donald Trump got a bit lucky with this judge. You don't see criminal defendants doing what Donald Trump has done, repeatedly violate a gag order. I mean, today was the 10th time this happened, and it's just another Monday for Donald Trump. And so I was glad to see the judge personally address Donald Trump today, as you talked about, and the like. But I do think, Trump has gotten lucky that he hasn't faced either the kind of sanctions that you and Andrew just talked about, or my idea, which was, to impose the criminal sentence right now and say, you are guilty. I'm going to suspend the execution of it until after the trial is over, and we're going to watch your behavior. But you have now done more than what a $1,000 fine is worth. You've trampled on the court. You've trampled on the jury. And look, I can promise you, there are a whole lot of defendants out there who wish they were given even a fraction of the leniency that Judge Merchan has given to Donald Trump for his repeated violations of the law.
Adam, to the evidence, it seems like they got it all. They got the plot in writing on these two pieces of paper. The jurors will be able to hold these in their hands when they're in the jury room, ask for these exhibits, take a look at them. It seems to be all there. The point, if it is that the defense scored at the end of this testimony about what all these notations mean, is that Donald Trump never had a conversation about any of this with this witness today, who himself wrote out the version of the conspiracy on this piece of paper. And
that was addressed in redirect examination at the very end in this very skillful exchange. I'm going to read it to you. I flagged it. The prosecutor asked, have you come to learn since leaving the Trump organization that there were matters that Mr. Weisselberg kept you in the dark about? Objection from Trump's lawyer. Overruled. The Trump's lawyer persists. Hearsay. It's overruled. Yes. So your answer is yes. Sorry, yes. This was all happening above your head. Yes. You were told to do something and you did it. Yes. I have no further questions. So whatever blow, and it was a blow, saying that Trump that he did not have a conversation with Trump, mitigated by the prosecutor showing and eliciting this fairly damning exchange that McConney was kept in the dark.
All right, we're going to squeeze in a break here. When we come back, we're going to go over today's evidence and consider how far the prosecution of this case has come and how much farther they have to go. We'll be right back.
Alice loves the scent of Gain so much, she wished there was a way to make it last longer. Say hello to your fairy godmother, Alice, and long-lasting Gain scent beads, part of the irresistible scent collection from Gain.
The itch and rash of moderate to severe eczema disrupts my skin night and day. Despite treatment, it's still not under control. But now I have Rinvoq. Rinvoq is a once-daily pill that reduces the itch and helps clear the rash of eczema fast. Some Rinvoq patients felt significant itch relief as early as 2 days. Some achieved dramatic skin clearance as early as 2 weeks. And many taking Rinvoq saw clear or almost clear skin.
Rinvoq can lower your ability to fight infections, including TB. Serious infections and blood clots, some fatal. Cancers, including lymphoma and skin. Heart attack, stroke, and GI tears occurred. People 50 and older with a heart disease risk factor have an increased risk of death. Serious allergic reactions can occur. Tell your doctor if you are or may become pregnant.
Help heal your painful skin. Disrupt the itch and rash of eczema. Talk to your doctor about Rinvoq.
Learn how AbbVie can help you save.
What if we don't get down in time to get a birthday gift for Zoe?
Don't panic. With Etsy, we can find the perfect gift and send her a preview right away. Thanks, guys.
Don't panic. Gift easy with Etsy.
On Medicare? Have diabetes? With the Freestyle Libre 3 system, you'll know your glucose and where it's headed. No finger sticks needed. Covered by Medicare for more people managing diabetes with insulin. Visit freestylelibre.us/Medicare.
Remember when I said we need to screen for colon cancer?
Was that after I texted the age to screen was now 45? Because I said Cologuard.
Hey there.
Where did he come from?
Yep, with me, you can screen at home. Just talk to your provider.
We'll screen with Cologuard and do it my way.
Cologuard is a one-of-a-kind way to screen for colon cancer that's effective and non-invasive. It's for people 45 plus at average risk, not high risk. False positive and negative results may occur.
Ask your provider for me. Cologuard.
20 seconds a week to lose 20% of your weight in a year with diet and exercise. That's the power of GLP-1s through Ro. Connect with the provider today at ro.co/20.
Right now, pet dander, skin cells, and dirt are settling deep into your carpet fibers. Stanley Steamer removes the dirt you see and the dirt you don't. Your carpets aren't clean until they're Stanley Steamer clean.
Stanley Steamer gets your home cleaner.
Jerry goes off-grid almost every weekend, but now, a Friday last-minute meeting? Otter has Jerry covered with an AI meeting assistant to take notes and capture action items, so Jerry can go camping and be ready for Monday. Sign up for free. Visit otter.ai or download the app.
One of my favorite supplements is Cunol Turmeric. Turmeric helps with healthy joints and inflammation support, and Cunol has the #1 doctor-recommended form of turmeric. Cunol, the brand I trust.
In the kitchen bin of the future, what happens to your food? 4 calibrated sensors detect a change. 5 stainless steel blades are activated. 3 air filters begin desmellification while a Wi-Fi connected brain signals ceramic and silicone heat sources, turning your uneaten food into food for farms. But you don't have to remember any of that. To use this space-age intelligent kitchen bin of the future, all you have to do is this. Sometimes big change is easy.
We need a small business loan fast.
I got this. Loan Falcon!
There's a better way to get a fast small business loan. Go to OnDeck.com, and if approved, get your funds as soon as the same day. Your loan is on deck.
It's lunchtime, and Gary is double booked. Good thing Gary's company uses Otter's AI meeting assistant to take notes and generate a summary. So Gary doesn't miss a meeting and can regain his lunch break. Try now for free. Visit otter.ai or download the app.
Here's more testimony from Jeffrey McConney, who was one of the financial officers in the Trump company. Prosecutor, were you aware of another expense reimbursement where a payment was doubled for taxes? McConney, no. We're back with Adam Klasfeld, Andrew Weissman, Neil Katyal. Andrew, what was established in this testimony today?
So I'm going to do a little mini summation on what you were talking with Adam about in terms of, oh, well, this witness couldn't say that he had a conversation with Donald Trump, because Exhibits 35 and 36, the 2 handwritten notations, one of which is on the hush money payment bank record. It's not some loose piece of paper. It's on that. Well, of course, this witness says, I don't deal with Donald Trump directly. So ask yourself, Alan Weisselberg, why would he possibly do this? Why would he dare do this, which is to not only reimburse Michael Cohen $130,000, but reimburse him another $130,000 without telling his boss? So he would be fired for that. Like, why would you do that on your own? 2, there's been ample testimony about Donald Trump is a micromanager. So, look, what do? You're going to slip it by him? But by the way, as you pointed out, he's signing the checks and seeing the invoices. So you have to hope he's not going to ask any questions while he's paying double the amount of money. Third, we know from Hope Hicks that he said to me that he knew that these were reimbursements to Michael Cohen. He knew that Michael Cohen had paid hush money, and she said he knew these were reimbursements. He had reimbursed him for it. So that's like, there's no question about what this is. And 4, we know from records, some of which just were introduced today, that Donald Trump himself said, I was reimbursing Michael Cohen for the hush money payments. So it is true that this witness doesn't know the full picture, but that happens all the time. The idea that this would have happened under Donald Trump's nose and everyone was somehow conspiring to keep it from him while he has to sign the checks, preposterous.
And Neil, a bookkeeper testified at the end of the day today saying that Donald Trump personally had to approve anything above $10,000, any expenditure above $10,000.
Yeah, and this Jonathan Alter in the New York Times has a piece right now called something like "The Boring Documents That Might Sink Trump," and the documents today that Andrew just referred to, Exhibits 35 and 36, in conjunction with that testimony that Trump approved all expenses over $10,000, just make it really hard for Donald Trump. I mean, Lordy, there are records here, and Trump's indicted for 34 counts, 11 checks to Michael Cohen, 11 invoices from Cohen, 12 entries in the general ledger. And I think Andrew's exactly right. What possible reason would the accountant, Alan Weisselberg, however, the CFO, to double the amount of money? I mean, this defense by Donald Trump makes just about as much sense as his COVID policy. It just doesn't fly. And so I think if you're sitting there on the jury and you're listening to this testimony, yeah, some of it's really dry and arcane. But at the end of the day, it is the kind of testimony that's going to sink Donald Trump.
And Adam, one thing that both of these pieces of paper do is that they corroborate Michael Cohen's story of how he made the payment, because here's one piece of paper that actually his bank statement shows him making the payment. Then you have Alan Weisselberg's notes about how to pay him back for this payment, including to take care of his tax liability that would come with it. But Michael Cohen couldn't possibly have known that McConney separately created this document in his own handwriting. This guy never spoke to Michael Cohen about this in the testimony. And so this document that Michael Cohen couldn't know existed corroborates him line for line.
It's an incredible amount of corroboration. And to your point, this is not only referring to Michael Cohen, this is the Weisselberg notations are on Michael Cohen's bank statement. It's through Michael Cohen's shell company, Essential Consultants, LLC, through which he funneled $130,000 to Stormy Daniels' lawyer, something you can see on this notation. Prosecutors probably could not have dreamed of a more incriminating placement of these notations that spells out the prosecution's theory of the case, $180,000 grossed up. And on McConney's document, it actually says 2 times for taxes grossed up. It has his $50,000 payment to Redfinch, which, as you explained to viewers, was the firm that was used to rig online polls in Trump's favor before he announced his candidacy. It goes through it in extraordinary detail on the worst placement that Trump could imagine.
Yeah, and Andrew, so when we look back at the prosecutor's opening, where are we now in the case, and how far do we have to go? And in the logic of this, is the next witness Alan Weisselberg to explain this notation right here, or does he even have to, or who else? The odd thing about this case is because the Trump lawyers have been so unprofessional, I would say unethical, the prosecutors are not telling them who their next witness is. They find out when the prosecutors say the people call in the room. So none of us know who the next witness is.
Yeah, well, that's actually because of Donald Trump's actions. I mean, the 10 criminal contempts are good and sufficient reason why you do not do the normal courtesy, as Josh Steinglass said. I do not think we're going to see Alan Weisselberg. The notes in this case really speak for themselves, and you have McConney doing something that's important because I always thought, gee, I wonder how they're going to identify Alan Weisselberg's handwriting. Is it just going to be Michael Cohen so that they can sort of collapse it and say, well, you don't really have corroboration? Well, you have Jeff McConney. And just to be clear, this is borrowing a page from the January 6th committee. These are insiders to the Trump organization. These are not friends of, Democrats. These are people in the Trump organization. Where are we going to go from here? I think, there's a good argument for, close the case out, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. At the end of the day today, Josh Steinglass said there's probably about 2 weeks left. That means that we're going to hear from Michael Cohen. We're certainly going to hear from some insiders at the White House as to the mechanics of how the checks are, so that it's pretty clear because we know it, but I think we're going to get a little bit more detail about what is presented to Donald Trump as president, and that he sees the invoice attached to the bill. And so he's like this, he signs a check, it's got an invoice, it's stapled together and sent back. So those invoices are presented, I think, at the same time. That's, I think, going to be an interesting fact. The invoices are interesting, and I think we'll hear more about that because they talk about current work that is being done. And that'll be, of course, the DA will say that's false. There was no current work that they were payment for. They were just reimbursement for the hush money payments. And then, obviously, Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels, I think, are witnesses that we will still hear from.
Neil Katyal, that little item about I've been looking at his handwriting for 35 years, it might not mean much to the typical viewer out here, but it's actually, as we know, quite a big deal. Getting someone to confirm whose handwriting that is on a piece of paper in a courtroom with the evidentiary standards required in a courtroom is not easy unless the person is identifying their own handwriting. And so it's moments like that where things go the prosecutor's way in very, very helpful, quick ways like that.
That's exactly right. And I think what it also did was just show, look, these people have been working together for a long time. And it raises the inference, why is this payment, which looks so aberrational and unlike anything else, what is going on here? And the district attorney has to prove that Donald Trump made knowingly false business records with an intent to further or conceal another crime. Here, that's campaign finance violations. And we had last week's testimony, Lawrence, from Hope Hicks, saying that Trump was aware of the hush money, at least at the time of repayment. And now the question is, can the prosecutor show that Trump knew the business record was false? And did Trump do this with the intent of trying to help his campaign? And Hicks already went a long way on that. I think Andrew's right to say, well, the next big thing is Michael Cohen. And what's his credibility going to look like? We're already seeing skirmishes of that in the courtroom through the testimony of other witnesses. And certainly I don't think the jury's going to come off and like Michael Cohen as a person. But they do just have to believe he's telling the truth about Donald Trump. And when you have all this corroborating documentation that came out today, I think the prosecutors have done a really splendid job in moving the ball forward.
Neil Katyal, Andrew Weissman, Adam Klasfeld, thank you all very much for joining our discussion tonight. And coming up, in Jen Psaki's new book, we learn what she used to do right before stepping on camera in the White House press briefing room. We will ask her to demonstrate that move tonight. She worked for 3 Democratic presidential nominees, and her book reveals which one terrified her, which one gave her a bear hug at the end of her job interview, and which one got on the phone with her father. Jen Psaki joins us next.
Compared with other chews, one Bravecto chew protects from fleas and ticks for 12 weeks, nearly 3 times longer.
Use with caution in dogs with a history of seizures or neurological disorders. Protection that lasts longer? Bravo, Bravecto! Bravo!
Nothing dims my light like a migraine. With Nurtec ODT, I found relief.
The only migraine medication that helps treat and prevent all in one.
To those with migraine, I see you.
For the acute treatment of migraine with or without aura and the preventive treatment of episodic migraine in adults. Don't take if allergic to Nurtec ODT. Allergic reactions can occur even days after using. Most common side effects were nausea, indigestion, and stomach pain.
It's time we all shine. Talk to a healthcare provider about Nurtec ODT from Pfizer.
So a customer shipped the original negatives of a classic Elvis movie, not knowing the film would disintegrate above 40 degrees.
FedEx presents Tall Tales of True Deliveries.
There it is. We got it just in time.
Thank you very much.
So basically, Elvis lives. Long live the king.
If this is what we did for film history, see what we can do for your business. FedEx.
Type 2 diabetes? Discover the Ozempic Trizone.
Ozempic.
I got the power of 3. I lowered my A1C, CV risk, and lost some weight.
In studies, the majority of people reached an A1C under 7 and maintained it.
I'm under 7.
Ozempic lowers the risk of major cardiovascular events such as stroke, heart attack, or death in adults also with known heart disease.
I'm lowering my risk.
Adults lost up to 14 pounds.
I lost some weight.
Ozempic isn't for people with type 1 diabetes. Don't share needles or pens or reuse needles. Don't take Ozempic if you or your family ever had medullary thyroid cancer or have multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2 or if allergic to it. Stop Ozempic and get medical help right away if you get a lump or swelling in your neck, severe stomach pain, or an allergic reaction. Serious side effects may include pancreatitis. Gallbladder problems may occur. Tell your provider about vision problems or changes. Taking Ozempic with a sulfonylurea or insulin may increase low blood sugar risk. Side effects like nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea may lead to dehydration, which may worsen kidney problems. Living with type 2 diabetes?
Ask about the power of 3 with Ozempic.
We all need fiber for our digestive health, but less than 10% of us get enough each day. Good thing Metamucil gummies are an easy way to get prebiotic plant-based fiber with the same amount of fiber as 2 cups of broccoli. Metamucil gummies, the easy way to get your daily fiber.
The Infiniti QX60 was designed to wow. The interior, it's luxurious. Ooh, I didn't realize it would have a 3rd row of seating. The 2024 3-row Infiniti QX60. Consider me wowed.
Curious about GLP-1s? Ro helps find the medication that's right for you based on cost, availability, and your weight loss goals. Connect with a provider today at ro.co/TV.
Okay, everyone. Our mission is to provide complete balanced nutrition for strength and energy.
Ensure with 27 vitamins and minerals, nutrients for immune health, and Ensure Complete with 30 grams of protein.
Compared with other chews, one Brevecto chew protects from fleas and ticks for 12 weeks, nearly 3 times longer.
Use with caution in dogs with a history of seizures or neurological disorders. Protection that lasts longer? Bravo, Brevecto! Bravo!
Victims of mesothelioma and their families may be entitled to receive a cash award from the estimated $30 billion in asbestos trust funds now available. Over $50 billion has been awarded already. If you have been diagnosed with mesothelioma or lung cancer caused by asbestos, call the number on your screen now. We have served victims of mesothelioma and their families nationwide for over 30 years. We have successfully recovered hundreds of millions of dollars for thousands of our clients. Even if a family member has passed due to mesothelioma, you may still be entitled to a cash award. So call now for your free evaluation. We want to help victims of mesothelioma and lung cancer, and your families get the financial compensation you deserve from the estimated $30 billion in trust funds now available. If you or a loved one has been diagnosed with mesothelioma, call 1-800-290-7477 now or visit us at mesofund.com.
The mother of one of the thousands of babies born in this country on July 13th, 2015, got a congratulations phone call from the President of the United States. That mother thanked President Obama for his congratulations call and now says, "I could hear the president chuckling in the background as I quickly moved from my joy at being a new mom to asking him about the status of the Iran nuclear deal." That's just one of the stories told in Jen Psaki's wonderful new book, Say More, Lessons from Work, the White House, and the World. Jen Psaki writes, "To this day, the 3 questions I'm asked most about my time at the White House are, 1, what's Joe Biden really like? 2, did you get nervous before briefings? 3, how much do you hate Peter Doocy?"
You guys say all options are on the table. Is restarting Keystone construction one of them?
If we're trying to bring about more supply, that does not address any problem. We're already getting that oil, Peter. It's the pipeline is just a delivery mechanism. It is not an oil field. So it does not provide more supply into the system.
Pipeline's not an oil field. Jen Psaki's father, a former Republican, told her, "I could never do your job. I would just want to rip their heads off." Jen Psaki didn't think she could do the job either when she first applied for it and came in second to Jay Carney in the Obama White House. Jen Psaki has a history of seeking more responsibility from her bosses in campaigns and in the White House, and then surprising, first of all, herself at how well she can actually do those jobs. She was rejected for the job of White House press secretary twice in the Obama administration, and then began that job on day 1 of the Biden administration. She decided to do something that had never been done before, give a televised press briefing from the White House on day 1, on Inauguration Day. The night before, she was pacing around her kitchen in sweatpants, filling her brain with all of the announcements planned for day 1 when, quote, "An issue popped into my head that I felt unprepared to address. I started pacing faster." Jen Psaki had been under pressure before from the press secretary podium at the State Department, working for Secretary of State John Kerry, where her motto was, "Don't start a war." But her first White House press briefing was going to be even more pressure. She chose something comfortable from her closet, a blue dress from J. Crew. In the middle of a global deadly pandemic, she would be delivering the most important statement to the world that day by anyone other than President Biden about what had changed in the White House at 12 noon when the staff of the pathologically lying former president left the building. I'll never forget watching that first Jen Psaki White House press briefing, because at the end of her 31 minutes, I realized I was watching the best White House press secretary I had ever seen.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this historic day. It's an honor to be here with all of you. When the president asked me to serve in this role, we talked about the importance of bringing truth and transparency back to the briefing room. And he asked me to ensure we are communicating about the policies across the Biden-Harris administration and the work his team is doing every single day on behalf of all American people. There will be times when we see things differently in this room, among all of us. That's okay. That's part of our democracy.
Joining us now is Jen Psaki, former White House press secretary and host of Inside with Jen Psaki on MSNBC. Her new amazing book, Say More, Lessons from Work, the White House, and the World, is available tomorrow. Jen, I was just watching you watch her at that first White House press briefing.
Gosh, it feels so long ago. It feels so long ago.
It looked like I was watching a mother watch a daughter.
Oh, I just remember like it was yesterday, how nervous I was that day. And I talk a little bit about this in the book, but just feeling like I just need to go out there and not screw up. I had a little shimmy before I went out. Karine Jean-Pierre and I, now the press secretary, had a little shimmy before I went out. And I just remember thinking, and I had this conversation with President Biden, as I also talk about in the book, about how the country was so frazzled, was so frayed. The nerves of the country were so frayed. And the best thing I could do, a small sliver on that day, was to try to settle some of the nerves. And so it just really brings me back to that moment watching.
Now, yeah. So you answered one of the questions for the audience, which is, what do you do right before the briefing? And you reveal in the book that you and Karine would do this shoulder shimmy together. Do you do that here before you go out?
I do that. I also used to do a Ted Lasso. I'm a huge Ted Lasso fan. And of course, Rebecca, who's the greatest character on that show, she talks about before she would go in and meet with all of the male soccer heads of the other teams, how she would make herself like a tree and make herself big. And I used to do that quite frequently before the briefing, just to prepare for what was facing me on the other side of the door.
So you worked for presidential nominees. You worked with three of them: John Kerry, Barack Obama, Joe Biden. You worked for all three of these people. So which, I couldn't find in there which one you like best. And I searched every page for who's your favorite.
I love them all.
Watch this press secretary spin to this question.
That's
this
right.
Is the one.
I learned something from all of them. I do talk a lot about as you know, about different kinds of bosses and how important it is to navigate.
Let's go to the fun.
Okay, fun.
Let's answer the tease questions that I gave to Rachel.
Okay.
Which one terrified you?
I was terrified. Terrified? I don't know if I use that exact word.
You used the word several times.
Okay. Barack Obama.
Correct. Yes.
Because, and you've worked for, and this is one of the things I feel like you and I have always connected on, is just our shared love of public service and the people who serve. And he is somebody who you always felt like, I still to this day feel like he always knows the briefing materials before you brief him. He's already thought about the questions you're about to answer. And it's intimidating because he's such a larger-than-life figure. And it took me a long time to really feel comfortable giving him feedback.
Yeah, so, I worked, as you know, for Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan, who was a Harvard professor before becoming a senator and widely regarded as the smartest guy in the building, and therefore kind of intimidating, not from anything he did, just because he was so smart. So my strategy for the first year was to not say a word.
That's how I was.
Right. Okay.
And this makes me feel so much better,
That's what I saw in your book.
That's how I was. And I was just kind of a wallflower in the back of the room. I would kind of volunteer. I would say, oh, someone else can go to the meeting for me.
If Barack Obama was in the meeting, you were afraid of being in the meeting.
I was afraid of saying something dumb, of saying something stupid, and it took me a long time to get over that and recognize that you're not serving your boss. And now I want to know how you got over it.
Well, here's what I did. I didn't speak for a year. Therefore, at the end of the year, I was the only person who hadn't said something stupid in a year, and then I was presumed to be smart because I hadn't said anything.
Maybe that's how I lasted so long working for Barack Obama, too.
So which one gave you the bear hug at the end of the job interview?
John Kerry.
The warmest.
John Kerry. Now, and I remember going in and sitting and meeting with him about the State Department press secretary job, spokesperson job, and he had this reputation when he ran for president as being so aloof and unfriendly. It's completely the opposite of who he is. He is an extrovert, a friendly, a person who's outgoing, outgoing and loves being around people. It taught me a lot about how politicians are caricatured often, and for the good or the bad. And he is certainly somebody who's quite different from what you think.
All right, just a name for an answer to this one, because we're going to squeeze in a commercial and come back. And I think it's process of elimination. This should be obvious by now.
Yes.
Which one of them got on the phone with your father?
Joe Biden, no question. They had a long conversation, which made me nervous.
Okay. Jen, so much more to get to. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Jen Psaki. This book is fabulous.
Hey there, Brenda.
It's Carol.
Exactly. So which leg are we operating on?
You mean arm?
It's all connected.
Asking the right question can greatly impact your future.
Are you sure you're an orthopedist?
Actually, I'm a Sagittarius.
Especially when it comes to your finances.
Do you have a question? Are you a certified financial planner?
Yes, I'm a CFP professional.
CFP professionals are committed to acting in your best interest. That's why it's gotta be a CFP. Find your CFP professional at letsmakeaplan.org.
If you're living with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis or active psoriatic arthritis, symptoms can sometimes take you out of the moment. Now there's Skyrizi. So you can show up with clearer skin and show it off.
Nothing is everything.
With Skyrizi, you can take each step with 90% clearer skin. And if you have psoriatic arthritis, Skyrizi can help you get moving with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, had a vaccine, or plan to.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and less joint pain. And that means everything. Ask your doctor about how Skyrizi could help with your skin or joint symptoms. Learn how AbbVie could help you save.
When it comes to your wellness routine, the details are the difference. Dove Men Body Wash with plant-based moisturizers in harmony with our bodies for healthier feeling skin. All these details add up to something greater. New Dove Men Plant-Powered Body Wash.
What causes a curve down there? Is it Peyronie's disease?
Will it get worse? How common is it? Who can I talk to? Can this be treated?
Stop typing, start talking to a specialized urologist because it could be Peyronie's disease, or PD. It's a medical condition where there is a curve in the erection caused by a formation of scar tissue, and an estimated 1 in 10 men may have it. But PD can be treated even without surgery. Say goodbye to searching online. Find a specialized urologist who can diagnose PD and build a treatment plan with you. Visit makeapdplan.com today.
Known for following your dreams. Known for keeping with tradition. Known for discovering new places. No one wants to be known for cancer, but a treatment can be. Keytruda is known to treat cancer. FDA approved for 16 types of cancer, including certain early stage and advanced cancers. One of those cancers is early stage non-small cell lung cancer. Keytruda may be used with certain chemotherapies before surgery when you have early stage lung cancer, which can be removed by surgery, and then continued alone after surgery to help prevent your lung cancer from coming back.
Keytruda can cause your immune system to attack healthy parts of your body during or after treatment. This may be severe and lead to death. See your doctor right away if you have cough, shortness of breath, chest pain, diarrhea, severe stomach pain, severe nausea or vomiting, headache, light sensitivity, eye problems, irregular heartbeat, extreme tiredness, constipation, dizziness or fainting, changes in appetite, thirst or urine, confusion, memory problems, muscle pain or weakness, fever, rash, itching or flushing. There may be other side effects. Tell your doctor about all your medical conditions, including immune system problems. If you've had or plan to have an organ or stem cell transplant, receive chest radiation, or have a nervous system problem.
Keytruda is an immunotherapy and is also being studied in hundreds of clinical trials exploring ways to treat even more types of cancer. It's true. Keytruda from Merck. See all the types of cancer Keytruda is known for at Keytruda.com and ask your doctor if Keytruda could be right for you.
Missing out on the things you love because of asthma? Get back to better breathing with Fasenra, an add-on treatment for eosinophilic asthma that is taken once every 8 weeks. Fasenra is not for sudden breathing problems or other eosinophilic conditions. Allergic reactions may occur. Don't stop your asthma treatments without talking with your doctor. Tell your doctor if your asthma worsens. Headache and sore throat may occur. Tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection. Step back out there with Fasenra. Ask your doctor if it's right for you.
20 seconds a week to lose 20% of your weight in a year with diet and exercise. That's the power of GLP-1s through Ro. Connect with a provider today at ro.co/20.
The job that I missed the most was my time working in a fictional White House at the Warner Brothers lot in Burbank, California, where we filmed the NBC hit series The West Wing, about a fictional White House with Martin Sheen playing the wise and benevolent president of the United States. Jen Psaki's book is filled with gems that I wish we could have used when we were writing that show. Bits of dialogue like, "Bill introduced me to Rahm Emanuel. Nice to meet you," I said, after Bill introduced us. "This is probably the closest we will ever get," Rahm responded. Scenes like the West Wing, the White House chief of staff changing a diaper in the White House for a baby who was not his baby, and the White House press secretary having to spin her own children about the tooth fairy when they overheard someone saying that the tooth fairy isn't real, and Jen Psaki was that White House press secretary. I'm telling you, when Aaron Sorkin reads this book, he's just going to feel like all of these opportunities that we would be using.
Call me Aaron Sorkin.
Oh, I'm telling you. I mean, the White House press secretary at home spinning her kids about the tooth fairy, exquisite. Allison Janney having to do that in the show.
You learn a lot from your kids about communicating, I will tell you.
Yeah. And that Rahm Emanuel introductory moment is so fantastic. So White House Chief of Staff is changing your baby's diaper. Now, if someone had pitched that in the West Wing writers' room, I would have said, no, you got to understand. You got to understand that job.
It's never going to happen.
The White House Chief of Staff doesn't have time to change his own baby's diapers. Like, that's never going to happen.
Well, the story of that day is even better. I just told a sliver of it because my daughter at the time, who was about one, a little under one, she had a low-grade fever. I had to pick her up from daycare. And I said, I have some meetings I have to go to. So I just brought her back to the White House. Dennis McDonough was the chief of staff, changed her diaper, took her out where she played on the swing set that was there for Sasha and Malia. She traveled around the West Wing. And then I was about to take her home. And the president's assistant at the time, Fariel, said to me, "The president really wants you to stay because your daughter's here. And he's had a tough day with a meeting with a bunch of lawyers, and he loves babies." And so I took him into the Oval Office. He played with my daughter. We have amazing pictures. And that was the totality of the day. And it was a lesson because I thought my day was going to be so difficult because I had to pick up my daughter.
So, by the way, each one of these bosses they read as great bosses.
They all were.
John Kerry, and it's one of the best portraits of John Kerry I've ever read is in this book from a great perspective. Joe Biden, Barack Obama. And Barack Obama, the one who terrified you the most in his way, without him ever trying to terrify you.
No, not at all.
Let's get that on the record.
He didn't try.
You make a gigantic mistake working for President Obama. Gigantic mistake.
Many, actually.
And his response to it, when it finally gets to him, is, "You are normally an A student, so I'm going to let this one slide."
Which is just... His persona, as you well know, Lawrence, from covering him and interviewing him, is that he's pretty steady, right? And that was always my experience. That day, and the story you're talking about, is a day that I missed the plane. I was an hour late to the plane. The president, the nominee, had to wait for me to take the plane. And that's exactly what he said.
There are so many insights to each of these men in this book through your eyes. And what do you hope people take away about who they are?
I hope people take away that at a time when our institutions are being attacked, when so many people think every politician is rotten out there, that there are deeply good human beings who are there for the right reason and who are in public service for the right reason. And I worked for two presidents, one almost president, who's the third one, and all of these men deeply cared about the country, deeply cared about our democracy, deeply cared about doing good for people. And I tried to tell a lot of stories about them and who they were through my experiences working for them.
This, by the way, is just a rehearsal for what we're going to do Wednesday night at the 92nd Street Y here in Manhattan. We're going to do the long version then talking about this. Jen Psaki, the book is Say More. This is the book this is a great Mother's Day book, a great Mother's Day book. We'll be right back.
When migraine strikes, you're faced with a choice. Accept the trade-offs of treating, or push through the pain and symptoms. With Ubrelvy, there's another option. One dose quickly stops migraine in its tracks. Treat it anytime, anywhere, without worrying where you are or if it's too late. Do not take with strong CYP3A4 inhibitors. Allergic reactions to Ubrelvy can happen. Most common side effects were nausea and sleepiness. Migraine pain relief starts with you. Ask about Ubrelvy. Learn how AbbVie could help you save.
Did you know you can get 40% off a single pair of glasses at America's Best? These savings won't last forever, unlike your eternal elation. Okay, settle down. Shop online or book an exam at americasbest.com.
I have type 2 diabetes, but I manage it well. It's a little pill with a big story to tell. I take once daily Jardiance at each day start. As time went on, it was easy to see. I'm lowering my A1C.
Jardiance works 24/7 in your body to flush out some sugar. And for adults with type 2 diabetes and known heart disease, Jardiance can lower the risk of cardiovascular death too.
Serious side effects may include ketoacidosis that may be fatal, dehydration that can lead to sudden worsening of kidney function, and genital yeast or urinary tract infections. A rare life-threatening bacterial infection in the skin of the perineum could occur. Stop Jardiance and call your doctor right away if you have symptoms of this infection, ketoacidosis, or an allergic reaction. You may have increased risk for lower limb loss. Call your doctor right away if you have symptoms of infection in your legs or feet. Taking Jardiance with a sulfonylurea or insulin may cause low blood sugar.
Jardiance is really swell, the little pill with a big story to tell.
20 seconds a week to lose 20% of your weight in a year with diet and exercise. That's the power of GLP-1s through Ro. Connect with the provider today at ro.co/20.
Your calling. Some people find theirs at an early age, others later in life. No matter when you find it, consider yourself lucky because it becomes your everything. Our calling was to build trucks, and that's why trucks are what we do. We put our everything into every truck so that when you find your calling, nothing can stop you from answering it.
Oh no. What if we don't get down in time to get a birthday gift for Zoe?
Don't panic. With Etsy, we can find the perfect gift and send her a preview right away.
Great Mother's Day gift for any working mother. Jen Psaki gets tonight's last word. The 11th hour with Stephanie Ruhle starts now.
Tonight, defendant Trump is held in contempt again. His latest penalty and the new threat of jail time from the judge. And with no agreement on a ceasefire, Israel resumes strikes in southern Gaza. So is a deal still possible? And a top Georgia Republican says he's voting for Joe Biden. What that could mean in a crucial swing state as the 11th hour gets underway on this Monday night. Good evening once again. I'm Stephanie Ruhle. We are now 183 days away from the election. And today in a New York City courtroom, Judge Juan Merchan got tough with Donald Trump about the gag order in his election interference trial. The judge fined Trump another $1,000 and threatened him that he would throw him in jail if there are more violations. The day continued with testimony from two former Trump employees about how the money specifically flowed from Donald Trump to his former fixer, Michael Cohen. Here's my colleague Vaughn Hilliard with more.
Tonight, former President Trump facing a new threat of jail time at his hush money trial after his 10th violation of the judge's gag order.
He's taken away my constitutional right to speak.
The judge directly addressing the possibility of putting Mr. Trump behind bars over future violations. The magnitude of such a decision is not lost on me. You are the former president of the United States and possibly the next president as well. Adding, as much as I do not want to impose a jail sanction, I will, if necessary and appropriate.
Frankly, you know what? Our Constitution is much more important than jail. It's not even close. I'll do that sacrifice any day.
The judge fining Mr. Trump an additional $1,000 for complaining about the